Hello everyone, welcome. My name is MJ Pestridge. Welcome to another P3D video, and this is the start of a new series on this channel. Bit of an experiment, so I don't really know how it's going to go. I recently went and purchased the P3D license for version 3, which is one of their older softwares. And I'm going to have a look at this. Like I've never had P3D version 3. I went from FSX straight to version 4 and then on to version 5. And from FSX to version 4 to version 5, it's changed dramatically. But in this series, I'm going to go back. I'm going to go back to version 3. We're going to see what it's like, and we're going to go through the sort of stages of building this up, souping it up, and sort of adding the add-ons. So what we're going to do is I've got a generic default graphics profiles set here, and everything in here is default. So we're going to go to the default Eglin AFB airport. I'm on system time for the time and season, and we're going to be using the Building Storms weather profile, and the vehicle will always be the Mooney Bravo Retro, or the Mooney Bravo. So I'm going to see basically what this is like at default in this video, and then in the following videos add add-ons eventually. Now the idea is I want to take this version 3 sim, and this is the exciting bit, and try and get it as close to version 5 as humanly possible. There are some limitations, and we'll go through with that when we get in. So let's go in. So first off, the sound isn't registered. So it is. Okay, so being the default, if I click out of the screen, the sound goes and the simulation pauses because it's default. So let's set our altimeter, pressing B, which I am doing, but okay. We're going to bring the frames up. Now it says here target of 20 FPS, so that's the default. Obviously 20, we're not going to keep this because we want 30 or 60, and I'm scrolling the mouse wheel and it doesn't actually zoom in and out, so that's a feature that wasn't in version 3. So okay, so we have got that. Let me okay, so basically what we're going to do is we're going to take this version 3 and we're going to try and put in version 5 into it as much as possible. Now we're down to limitations. Okay, so the limitations are, this is a 32-bit sim, okay, and it 32-bit versus 64-bit, which is what version 5 is very different. Okay, so there's limitations straight away with the engine it's running. This is running, I believe, a DirectX 10 engine, and obviously version 5 is running a DirectX 12 version, so engine. So there's a lot of limitations, but I'm quite impressed with the trees, to be fair. These trees are actually pretty decent. The models and the textures, I've got to say, they're actually really decent. So let's have a look at the graphical settings. I just seen a menu there saying add-ons. Was add-ons a thing in version 3? I thought that was introduced in version 4 as a sort of beta. So this is the default profile. It's my graphics card. I'm on a 4K display. We have VSync turned off, but it's set to 20. Tessellation is enabled, which generates terrain on the GPU, enabling advanced features including dynamic lighting, improved terrain paging performance, and smoother frame rates on higher graphics cards. So that will always be ticked. We've got anisotropic 4. We've got 2 samples. We've got medium textures, so that will obviously need to be changed. FXAA is on. The scenery sliders are set to high, 19 meters, 1 meter. Land detail textures, which I believe is the high resolution textures in version 5. We've got a couple of reflections, water, special effects, they're all at medium. Scenery objects are at normal. The lighting, so there's default values for saturation, for bloom, for brightness, shadow quality, and all this. The weather there is set, and this is the traffic. So we're going to do a little quick path in the sort of scenario of default. So I'm going to leave the camera out because, I mean, in all honesty, going inside the flight deck and you can't zoom in, I mean, this looks pretty... I think the reason you can't zoom in is because back in the day, this virtual flight deck was a relatively new feature back in FSX. I think Century of Flight had the first virtual flight decks, but so as you can see, the texture resolution on these things isn't exactly high, and we're using 1K textures. So zooming in just really brings out the flaws of the texturing, makes them look even worse than they actually are. It's all based on photoreal texturing, so this is an actual photo of an actual joystick, and everything is an actual photo of an actual thing, but the resolution is so low. You can actually see bit rating, you can see, I mean, I don't know if it's going to show up on video, but on a 4K screen it doesn't look good. Let's actually stay in this flight deck actually for a second, so let's get going. I don't know, set my flaps. I haven't set up any controls either. I haven't done that. That will be done ready for the next menu, so I don't actually know how this is going to handle with the joystick. So here we go. We got 30. It's pretty, to be honest, I don't have to touch my joystick that much. It's pretty stable. So obviously there's no dynamic wind hitting this and blowing it to the left or right. It is kind of wanting to go left or right, but I don't feel that that's a wind mechanic. So I think we're ready to fly. Let's get her in the air. So, ooh, barely. Excuse me. So wheels up and flaps up, and she's flying. There we go. So as you can see, textures, I mean, they're okay, you know, but really everything here is kind of defined by the shading of the lighting. So how these textures look is defined by the lighting of the sim. So if we go outside and have a look around, every tree, every texture, everything, the color of it is defined by the shaders of this sim, but also the settings for brightness, color, you know, and everything. I gotta say, there's actually a dynamic reflection happening here, but it's most likely a texture based one, so it's not actually a live dynamic, but like, or is it? I don't know actually. I think it might be. Could be a texture based. Yeah, it's like on this side it's very different than it is on the darker side where it's a lot more. The water looks pretty good, I must say. This is very sort of almost version 5-y looking. So basically, what kind of add-ons am I going to be adding when we do suit this up? Let's do a turn and get back into land. So maybe better go to the flight deck for this. I gotta say, I mean, I'm actually quite impressed. The clouds look okay. This is the first time I've sort of booted up. Default clouds actually look like pretty decent clouds, you know. It does feel very FSX-y though, it really does. But I'm actually quite like surprised. You know, obviously, look, I mean, this is very FSX basic. Now, I have done on this channel a version 4, exactly what I'm about to do with version 3. I've done this for version 4 where we did a default flight at Eglin, and then I added like stuff like Orbex, I added stuff like all the different, you know, things of add-ons, and I'll be doing the same for this one. I don't feel that I probably need to add certain add-ons because, I mean, this is like a test thing, so, but I'm definitely going to be trying to get this as close to version 5 in terms of visual fidelity, but we are limited by the API engine and DirectX. I think it is DirectX 10. I'll find out for the next video. But like, the fact that there's no zoom really does, you know, you can't go in and have a look at things, you know. So there's no scroll zoom. I'll try and add that as a feature. I don't know if that'll be a thing that I can do, but I'm basically going to recode the CFG file. I'm going to, you know, update textures. I'm going to replace files. I'm basically going to, like I said, I mean, to the point where, like, the scenery world for this is literally like 30 gig in size. The scenery world for version 5 is like 80 gig. So there's a lot more data in version 5 than there is in version 3. But if I literally take the scenery folder and the texture folder and put it into version 3, which I will try as an experiment, I don't know what will happen, you know. A lot of add-ons probably wouldn't work because they're like coded to work in version 3 with the scenery data from that sim, whereas, you know, if I put version 5 in, things are going to be off, you know. That probably wouldn't work. Same with the shaders. If I literally took the shaders folder from version 5 and put it in version 3, which again, that's another experiment I will test, and I'll do these in a video to show what they look like, it probably wouldn't work because they are running off a different engine to what the engine of this sim can provide. So it's going to be a lot different. It really will be. I've noticed one thing straight off the bat, that the trees are less detailed down here than they were at the airport that we took off from. So where is that airport that we took off from? Somewhere around here. There it is. Is that it? It's over there. So these trees here close to the airport have a lot of a higher detail than these ones down here. These ones down here look very sort of textury generic, whereas the ones at the airport, she's like 3D models, you know. I'm not sure how much these are compared to them. They might even be the same, but I can't zoom in to find out. We're very limited by what we can do in this sim, or what the sim will allow us to do. So, I mean, it's okay. I mean, 20 frames isn't okay. Obviously, this is recording at 60, so you're probably going to see a lot of a smoother, you know, that I'm seeing. But, you know, at the end of the day, I want to hit 30 FPS in the sim, or even possibly 60 if the sim will allow it with add-ons. So, other than that, like, you know, like the reason, but so basically the reason for this is because, like, in particular, there are certain planes that just do not work in version 4 or 5 because it is a 64-bit sim. Whereas in this 32-bit landscape world, like, there are things within the engine that, you know, they removed when they updated and moved it to 64-bit. And it's proven in the fact that, you know, planes like the A2A Stratocruiser, the PMDG MD-11, and the Captain Sim 727, they do not function at all. Like, you can install them in, but they just will not work. I don't even think you can install the PMDG MD-11. I don't even think that will actually work anymore. Oh, it is dynamic dynamic reflections, because I can see the ground reflecting off the fuselage, the trees. So on one side it is dynamic on this side, but on this side it's a flat texture base. There's no reflections, so that's kind of like simulating the sun on the one side versus the other. Or is it? No, I can see reflections there as well. So okay, it's dynamic lighting both sides. I must say the clouds look kind of like very, you know, I'm more surprised about the clouds and how they look, you know, than anything else. The fact that we're so close to the aircraft though, like, and the terrain, like, is, the level detail is coming in as we fly, it's sharpening as we fly. But and it doesn't tell me my VRAM, so let's have a look at the performance here. So it's using literally 14% of my GPU and 22% of my CPU. So this is a real CPU sim. It's using a lot more, you know, of the CPU, and the memory is literally like 6 gig. And now it's paused because I've tabbed out. So obviously that's something we'll turn off. So version 3 uses your hardware in a lot of a different way, and again, that's something I'm going to try and change. I'm going to try and create even an affinity mask for it, so it'll run much like version 5 does, so it'll run better off the CPU, make better use of the CPU. Because if we look at what it's doing, right, the CPU, it's literally nailing the first core and then barely touching the rest, where I want to spread this out over all the cores. So that's again something I'll look into. So this is going to be a bit of an evolution. So what I plan to do is I'll install, like, so in the next video we're going to install some basic texture replacement add-ons. And pretty much this is what I'm going to aim to do. I'm not going to be aiming to install everything that's available for this sim in terms of add-ons. I probably won't install airports because we're not actually, like, until a later date at least. But the fact that it uses the add-on XML system means I could literally just drag and drop any of my airports from version 5 into this sim. And, you know, some may work, some may not work, but I can just basically utilize them, and then I've got loads of scenery library items. I could literally take the scenery library folder or file from P3D 5 and just drop it in, and everything is added as it should be. Like, that's something that could be tested as well, is literally just take, instead of installing them, is because they're already installed on my machine, I literally just plonk them in, you know, straight into off the bat. But anyway, so but this is basically this first video is just an introduction as to sort of show you what it looks like. It's very FSX basic, but yeah, I basically want to fly the Stratocruiser properly, like A2A want it to be flown, rather than the features in version 5. The AccuSim isn't there, which means the cabin crew aren't there, which means the pilot voices aren't there. It's just the engineer automation is there, and the basic control of the plane is there. That's it. You know, the fuel system isn't there. There's a lot of the plane missing because of the AccuSim. It doesn't work in a 64-bit environment. It's a 32-bit AccuSim, so unless it was recoded, it would never work. But same with the PMDG MD11. I'm sure like that was made in a 32-bit environment along with the Captain Sim 727 32-bit environment, and it literally doesn't work in a 64-bit environment because things are missing, or you know, the software doesn't have what the other software needs, you know, in order for things to function, or they've changed the way it is. But this sim is where we're going to be able to fly those planes, and you know, I'm going to see how far I can stretch P3D version 3. So it's going to be a fun experiment. Like, I don't know how it's going to pan out, you know. It's going to be an interesting experiment, but I am looking forward to going back and using older add-ons that I used to use that I no longer use, like Skyforce. So there's a volumetric sky of some sort in the sky, in the atmosphere. You know, using stuff like Active Sky Baby for the weather engine. You know, I don't know, but I am looking forward to like Texture Airports HD, and a lot of other, you know, sort of like replacement, you know, texture apps that, you know, we used to use in FSX and, you know, before up to version 4. So yeah, this is going to be an interesting, fun one. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this. Don't forget, I do a giveaway, Sim Market giveaway, 50 euros of vouchers. All you have to do to be in with a chance to win is subscribe to my channel and leave a comment down in any P3D video, and at the end of every single month I do go live with a vlog. I announce the winner and you can come collect your vouchers. And in the next video I will have changed the settings only in the menu, which I will go through at the beginning of the video, and then we'll load into the sim, and you'll literally be able to see the difference between what you see here, you know, in this at the moment, and what will happen, you know, in the next video. So take care, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.